Outghosted's Campfire Ghost Stories.
Hope I scared you. And we hope we do the same when Rob and I tell you our original Campfire Ghost Stories. Hopefully you'll stick around to the end because we have a tasty campfire treat for you tonight. A little bit of a different spin on the traditional s'mores that we all know and love. So, let's get to it. My story is called The Copycat. Angie took a deep breath as she started her walk into the woods. This was the first time she was venturing out alone, as her husband Calvin passed away 1 year prior. The path she was taking led to a secluded lake, where her and Calvin had made countless memories. After a year of mourning and sadness, it was time for her to reflect on those memories. The path was a labyrinth, but she knew every turn like the back of her hand, as if it were yesterday. And when she finally arrived at the lake, all the memories came flooding back that she had suppressed for so long. She looked over and saw an oak tree, and this reminded her of the silly little games he liked to play. Sometimes he would hide behind the trees and jump out. Other times he collected rocks along the bank, and he would hide one behind his back, just to see if she could pick the right hand. And now she found a rock along the bank, sat down, and started to cool her feet in the water. And she was enjoying the sounds of nature that was all around her. And it was quiet. And suddenly, just out of nowhere, she had that feeling that something was behind her. That feeling kept getting stronger and stronger. And then it made her jump up. And she turned around and looked down, and there was a cat. It had black fur, and she was wondering, what would a cat be doing out here so far into the woods by this lake? Angie, being the kind heart, wanted to pet the cat, and so she bent down and it shied away. And the cat looked skinny and mangy, so she thought she would try getting a bit of her sandwich out from her backpack and give the cat something to eat. She put it down on the ground. The cat wanted nothing to do with it. So at that point, she decided it was time to leave, gathered up her things, and started to head back down the path towards home. As she was walking, she couldn't help but turn around to see if the cat had started eating her lunch that she left. And wouldn't you know it, the cat was following her from behind. Now, it started to make her a little nervous, because why would this cat be following her? But she kept making her way through the path. And now she had to make her first turn. And she looked behind her, and the cat made the same exact turn. Now she was getting a lot more nervous and started to quicken her pace so that she could get out of there sooner. Every turn that she made, the cat would make. Finally, she saw an opening in the woods to where she lived. Went out onto the lawn, up the front stairs to the porch, turned around, and the cat would not come out from the woods. It just stayed at the wood line. So if anything, that gave Angie a little bit of relief. She thought, hey, well, maybe I am overreacting a bit. I'll just give it some water for the night. She took a dish that was off her front porch, put it down, filled it with water, and went in for the rest of the night. The next morning, Angie got up for that morning brew, as pretty much most of us would do, and rushed right over to that coffee maker, picked up a mug, added some cream and sugar, and pulled the spoon out of the drawer and stirred it up, and then realized that she hadn't taken her morning pee yet. So she put the mug down and ran in to do her business. But when she came out, the mug was still on the counter. She picked it up. But that was strange. Right next to the spoon that she had used to stir the coffee with was another spoon right there on the counter. Now, she figured if she had seen that spoon, she would have just used the one that was on the counter, not pull another one out of the drawer. But it was the morning and just brushed it off, picked up both the spoons and threw them in the sink. So she decided to finish the rest of her coffee out in the porch where her rocker was. And she's sitting there, and she figured she would scan the edge of the woods to see if the cat was still there, but no sign of the cat. And then she remembered leaving that water dish down for the cat, and she looked over at the stoop. And not only was there one, but there were 2 dishes right there on the stair. And that really gave her a scare, because she knew she did not put a second one down there. So she got up and immediately called the cops. But unfortunately, nothing came of that. A few days had passed, and Angie realized that she needed to get out and brush this off, shake it off. Maybe she was overreacting, she was alone. So she decided she was going to take a walk to her neighbor Tina's. So she grabbed her shoes, went out to the front porch, sat down, started tying her shoe, and out of her peripheral, she saw the black cat. It came out of the woods. And as soon as the cat noticed Angie staring at it, it locked eyes right on Angie. And the cat stood up, started making its way over to where she sat on the porch, and stopped only inches away from that bottom step. But it never lost eye contact with Angie. And now Angie started getting the feeling that something was watching her, but this time it was not the cat. Looked over to the right, and down at the bottom of her driveway, down by the main road, she could make out a young girl. She was wearing a pale melon-colored dress, and she had dark black hair. So naturally, Angie called out, "Hello?" But nothing from the girl. She just stood there, staring in Angie's direction. Angie called out again, "Hello!" And then, "Hello!" was thrown right back in her face. But not that little girly voice she expected to hear from the distance. It was her own voice. And she was like, "How the heck are you doing this?" Looked down, noticed that the cat almost had its front paw right on that bottom step. "Scram!" she said. She looked over to find the little girl, and the girl was gone. That was all that Angie could take. She had to call her neighbor Tina now to see if she could come over for the night, because there was no way she was going to head down that driveway alone now. So Angie went inside, tried to call Tina, but unfortunately Tina wasn't home. And now she was going to have to stick it out by herself for the rest of the night. And Angie was hearing every little sound around the house, outside, inside. So she turned the TV on as loud as she could stand it to drown out these noises. And she was just sitting there in the living room, and she heard like a funny echoing down the hallway. So she got up, she's like, "I gotta check this out." And when she went into the hallway, there was a flickering. She could see a light. She went down, went into that bedroom, and sure enough, the TV was on, to the same channel that she was watching in the living room. Angie was like, "All right, I've had just about enough of this. Who was in my house?" And then she heard giggling. You know, that kind of giggling that you would expect a little girl to make when she's about to rip out your entrails. Angie just took off, ran upstairs, slammed the door, and got into her bed. And wouldn't you know it, she could hear footsteps mimicking hers the same way coming up the staircase. It stopped right at the other side of the door, and then silence. Well, Angie, unfortunately, didn't know how long that silence was going to last. And she knew this was going to be a very long night. Well, the morning came, and Angie was not going to waste any more time. So she ran downstairs, went to go grab her bag off the table, and her buckle scraped across the finish. She looked down and thought, well, I really did it now. That was my great-grandmother's table. However, when she looked closer, they weren't just scratches. They were actually words inscribed in the table. And it said, "Don't go." Then the hair stood up on the back of Angie's neck, and Angie turned around, and sure enough, there was the girl. The girl said, "Don't go. I was only playing. Don't go. I was only playing." And for the third time, "Don't go. I was only playing." Angie just stepped right in front of her and said, "Well, I'm not, bitch." Grabbed her bag, walked right past her, down the front steps. The cat started to inch towards the porch. Angie said, "Don't bother." Got in her car and drove off to her neighbor Tina's. She thought, Tina is never going to believe me. But oddly enough, Tina basically said, "And I thought all this time you were safe." "What do you mean, safe?" Apparently, when they were first moving in, Tina had seen Calvin out in the driveway and explained to him that a little girl died near the property. And Calvin just shrugged it off because, well, it didn't happen in the house. What harm could that have been? What had happened to this young girl, Rose, she decided one day when her brother came home to play a little game with him. Her brother decided to walk into the woods towards the lake. Rose followed him. And every time he made one turn, she'd make the same turn. If her brother jumped high, she would try to jump high. You know, mimicking whatever he did. He had had enough of this, like you get annoyed with your baby sister, and wanted to shake her. So when they finally reached the lake, he jumped up on top of the railing, and well, so did she. But unfortunately for her, she fell in. And on her back was a backpack with her pet cat inside that she always carried around with her. And unfortunately, that backpack filled up with water, bringing the two of them down instantly. The brother, unfortunately, couldn't save them. Angie felt terrible, but she knew she had to claim her property back. So her and Tina drove back over, pulled the car up in the driveway, and when they got out, there was the cat waiting. So this time, they followed the cat into the woods, making every twist and turn of that labyrinth until they got to the lake. And there was Rose sitting down, cooling her feet in the water. And the cat went over to Rose, climbed up on her back into the knapsack. And Angie called out to Rose, "I'm sorry, Rose, that I couldn't play right now." And she stood up, looked over at Angie, and said, "But Calvin thought you would play." Angie's heart sank. Rose started to walk into the water, farther and farther, descending deeper and deeper, until they were both out of sight.
Very nice. Very nice. Very creepy. Very nice. A little on the depressing side, but which is not a bad thing.
Did I make you cry? Or is that just the smoke going all over the place in your face?
It's probably the smoke. No.
Sorry.
No, it was very. No, it was very. So Calvin, like sent this girl.
Yes,
oh.
Because they always like to play games, and he sent Rose to play a little game with her from
Kind of
the other
a
side.
Kindred spirit, no pun intended.
Yes, kindred spirit. If you're enjoying the video so far, hit the like.
And don't forget this. Can we switch lines?
Not really.
And don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Subscribe.
I can't say subscribe.
Yes, you can.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to see this. Can we just use that other mid-roll?
If you're enjoying the video so far, hit the like.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you get notified of all of our other videos.
And stick around to the end, because we do have that campfire treat to share with you.
Yummy. Okay. My story is called Three Boys at an Old House. At the end of this dead-end street was a large, old, abandoned house. Holes in the ceiling, paint peeling off the siding, boarded up windows, and a large iron fence surrounding an overgrown yard. One day, three boys, about 10 years old, were standing out in front of the house. The first one, Billy, he thought that there was some old homeless guy that lived in that house. And then there was Mike. Mike's like, no, I hear that place is haunted. Then there was Jimmy. Jimmy was the tough one. He laughed at him like, you guys are crazy. It's just an old house. And he laughed off everything anyone ever said about it. Just then they hear a voice come from behind them. I wouldn't be too sure about that. They turn around and they see John. That's Mike's older brother. Like, look, from what I've always heard, years ago, a young girl was murdered in that house, and they never did catch the killer. Mike and Billy's eyes widen. They look at each other, but they're trying to hide their fright because they don't want to look weak in front of Jimmy. John continued. The rumor has it that anybody who goes in that house is not coming back out. Jimmy scoffs again. As John starts walking away, he gives one final warning. Do yourselves a favor, stay away from that house. With that, he disappears around the corner. Well, Mike and Billy kind of look at each other. You know, maybe we should just get going. Right, Jimmy? Jimmy? They turn around, Jimmy's not there. They hear the creaking of wood behind them. They spin around, they see Jimmy walking up on the old creaky porch, starting to peek in the windows through the boards. Jimmy, would you get down here? Jimmy just looked at them and smirked. He just wanted to see what he could find up there. He went over to the front door, turned the door handle, and unbelievably the door was open. The door swung open with a loud creak. Turns back to the other two. Come on, you guys, look. It's no big deal. And Jimmy steps into the house. Mike and Billy are there on the sidewalk. They don't know what to do. Billy's like, look, what if that old homeless guy is in there? Mike's like, you know what? Forget it. I think that place is haunted. And Mike starts to run, but Billy grabs his arm, saying, look, I can't do this on my own. So the two reluctantly walk up that broken path up to the front door. They step on the porch and they poke their heads in the door, looking around. Jimmy, you here? Inside this house was covered in an inch of dust. Dirty sheets covered the furniture. The cobwebs stretched from ceiling to floor. Two of them creep in. They're looking around. And just then, they hear what sounds like footsteps coming from above them. And he went upstairs. The two tiptoe across the foyer to the bottom of the large staircase, right below a giant chandelier that was above their heads. Jimmy, you up there? Just then, Jimmy jumps out from under one of the sheets with a loud boom. Well, Mike and Billy almost jumped out of their skins, and Jimmy almost hit the floor laughing at the looks on their faces. The two of them were ready to strangle him. Just then, the laughter was interrupted by the sound of a breaking glass from somewhere else in the house. Jimmy said, "Come on, let's go look." The other two reluctantly followed just because better they stay together. So just as they move away from the bottom of the staircase, that large brass chandelier that was above their head came crashing down, hitting the floor, putting a hole right through the floor into the basement. Well, those two jumped out of their skins again, and they were in shock. If they hadn't moved, they would have been killed. Mike goes, "Jimmy, can't you see? This place must be haunted." Jimmy, being the Joker, saying, "Come on, ghosts don't drop chandeliers on people. Come on, let's go see where that noise came from." So they walk across the house to what looks like the kitchen. And as they're walking, Billy starts hearing those footsteps again. But this time it sounds like it's coming from down the stairs. Did you guys hear that? Again, Jimmy just says, "Stop it already. It's an old house. It makes noises." And basically pushes the two in front of him into the kitchen. Three are there, Jimmy standing in the doorway. And they look down, and on the floor they see a broken wine glass. Looks like that must have been the sound of that glass shattering. Billy looks up and he sees a wine glass rack, or a wooden wine glass rack hanging there. He's thinking, how could that possibly have fallen from there? And again, Jimmy looks at them. He's like, "You guys are jumping at shadows. You've got to calm down." And with that, the door to the kitchen slams closed, knocking Billy to the floor, which is followed a split second by a loud thud on the back of the door. Billy's like, "Well, can you explain that, Jimmy?" Jimmy's like, "It must have been the wind." All of a sudden, Mike's eyes are wider than ever. He points at the door. "Then can you explain that?" The other two look at the door and they notice sticking out of the door was a large, sharp piece of metal. Jimmy opens the door and looks at the other side of it. There was an extremely large kitchen knife, lunged into the door as if it was thrown at the exact height Jimmy's head would have been, hadn't that door slammed. Jimmy finally realized that it's time to get out of there. The three of them scrambled through the house. As they run towards the open front door, the front door slammed shut. Behind the door was this old, grizzled man. Long, straggling beard, tattered clothes, sunken in eyes. And by his side, he was holding an axe. The three kids screeched to a halt. That must be the old homeless guy that hangs out in here. The old man steps forward. "You're trespassing, huh? What, are you curious?" The three were speechless. "If you weren't so curious, I would have got you with that chandelier." And Billy just thought, that's right, we would have been killed with that chandelier if we weren't distracted by that glass falling. The old man continued, "And I may have missed you with my knife, but I won't with this." And he holds the axe high up above his head. All of a sudden, Jimmy says, "Wait a second. If you were trying to kill me with that knife, why just slam the door shut?" "I what now?" Just then, the old man He takes the axe, hold it high above his head, ready to lunge at the boys. When all of a sudden, a support beam falls from the ceiling, cutting him off from the other three. The old man, startled, he steps back, tripping over his own feet, and falls backwards down the hole at the bottom of the stairs. After a moment of stunned silence, the three boys crept over towards the hole and peeked down. There, in the basement, they saw the old man dead, impaled on the chandelier.
Oh, gross.
The three of them were in shock. They did not know what to think or to do. But nothing could have prepared them for this. From right behind them, they hear a soft voice of a young girl say, "You're welcome." These boys didn't even want to know where that voice came from. They ripped open that front door, ran down the porch, down the path, down the street. Just as they were about to turn the corner, Mike saw out of the corner of his eye the upstairs window of the house and a figure that was standing in it. But that didn't stop him. He just kept running. He did not look back. In that upstairs window was the apparition of a young girl, about age 10, with a pleasant smile on her face, as she says to herself, "You're welcome, boys. I'm just happy that my father didn't do to you what he did to me."
I like that twist in the end there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You don't know if it's the ghost or the person.
Right.
Yeah. And this is one of the cases where it was a ghost story, but the ghost was the good guy.
That's true. And actually, for a little while there, I thought the ghost was going to turn out to be the old guy. Like, I was shocked to find out that he really was just an old guy.
Yeah, he's just an old guy.
Just an old
Well,
guy.
he wasn't just
'Cause
an
I'm
old
like-
guy.
Like,
He was the father of the little girl
well,
who
true.
he killed years ago. So it wasn't just some random old guy.
Right. Yeah.
That technically was his house at some point.
At some point. Yep. Cool. Good story. I like it.
There you go.
If you like that story,
What's wrong with you?
ex-
Sorry. I had to do it. Sorry.
we are going to show you that s'mores kind of treat that we have for you, except we're going to use waffle cones. Yay! Instead of graham crackers. Now these ingredients, you can use anything that you have around the house. It doesn't have to be what I have here. And here's some mini marshmallows. This is the important part out of all of it. Also some Hershey's. And
Oh.
so Rob is going to get our fridge ingredients, and you could use whatever you want. Like I said, you could have peanuts. Another nice thing might be to throw in our blueberries. I don't know, anything that you think would go good with chocolate. Ooh, cherries,
Spinach. Banana.
All right, so
Banana. Strawberries.
strawberry, and that is the yucky part that got exposed. That goes in the fire. Yay! I'm going to cut in slices. You can cut in chunks, whatever you want. But I think this way you'll get a lot more flavor. What do you like better for ice cream? Do you like sugar cone or waffle cone?
I gotta go with waffle cone.
Yeah. See, oh, my fingers are sticky. I can't get the I've banana slime. Wow, that's pretty tough.
It's childproof. You have to push down and turn.
And you fill up. Now I would do some layers. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
you know, do some marshmallow, some.
Mellow.
And where's the strawberry?
Right in front of you.
Oh, if it was a strawberry, it would have bitten me. But you didn't bite. We actually had a fight over what kind of chocolate chips to get, because generally with s'mores, you use Hershey's chocolate,
But generally with
not
chocolate.
semi-sweet.
But generally with chocolate chips, you get semi-sweet.
Yeah, but that's for ice cream, not for s'mores.
That's for chocolate chip cookies. That's why those are the chocolate chips. They're always semi-sweet.
Yeah, but When you're doing
weirdo.
s'mores, you think of Hershey's.
Well, when I think of s'mores, I
And
don't
plus,
think
it's my favorite chocolate in the world. Why would you deprive me of my Hershey's? Wrap it in tinfoil.
All right.
And I'm going to steal some raw ones here. Are you exploding over there?
I'm overstuffed.
You're
I need
busting.
foil. I've wrapped my cone.
Cool.
Come join us, if you will.
By the fire. Go that way.
That you.
Let's just have these treats already.
Yay!
I'm so
All
excited.
right, and now we have this beautiful tin foil cone. Now we got to put them on fire. Yeah. On fire. So what's going on in the world today?
Our lantern is on over there.
Don't come back. What do I do now? She left.
Dance for us. Do something exciting. We don't need it right now. But does anyone know any Campfire songs? Someone must know one. Leave a comment. Maybe we'll sing it. Maybe we won't. I don't know. I don't think you want us to sing. I don't.
If you would like to hear us sing, please leave a comment. If you would like to hear my angelic voice, Flintstones, meet the Flintstones.
No, that's not a Campfire song.
It's a song. It's a campfire.
Girl Scout camp, Girl Scout camp. The leaders that they give you, they say are mighty fine. But when they, I don't remember the words, turn around, they look like Frankenstein. Oh, I don't want to go to Girl Scout camp. Please, Mom, I want to go. Oh, Mom, I want to go. Gee, Mom, I want to go home.
Burning down the house. My house.
In the middle of a street, my house.
That's our house. That's madness.
I tried to improvise. I tried. It didn't work out.
I'm thinking of songs with fire in it. And I always live while it's somebody.
And you gotta get the.
For some reason, like, his cat wandered into the studio and hacked up a hairball. Time has come.
Give it back. Don't touch mine.
I will grab your cone. She doesn't get those kind of jokes.
I just don't pay attention.
Is this burning an eternal flame?
I don't know what's worse, a cheesy song or
That-
you trying to sing a very cheesy song.
I don't do
No,
a
sorry,
very good...
Debbie Gibson. We love you, but
That wasn't Debbie Gibson. That was the
Yeah, it
Bangles.
no, it was not.
Close your eyes, give... Yeah, wasn't that Susanna?
No.
That was Susanna. I'm almost positive that was the
No,
Bangles.
it's Debbie Gibson.
Are you sure? Debbie Gibson never did anything that good.
Hey.
They're all like harmonizing
No,
together.
not
That was the Bangles.
It was definitely not. Do we have to Google this?
No, I got my phone right here. I got my phone
All
right
right.
here.
Google Eternal Flame.
Ah.
I know I'm right, but I'll let you look it up anyway. No! I would have sworn this was, what's her name?
Susanna Hoff.
Debbie Gibson, Eternal Flame.
No way. She didn't do that song. That was the Bangles.
Why did that just come up? Did you try to search for
No,
that?
I just put Eternal Flame, and the first thing that came up was Eternal Flame Bangles.
Debbie Gibson, Lost in Your Eyes.
Yeah.
But that's the one I was thinking of, I guess. I never knew that was the Bangles. Never.
Yeah. It's like that Tiffany song, Walk Like an Egyptian.
That I know is the Bangles.
Get my phone back before you see my browser history.
Are these gonna burn?
I don't know. They might have already. Oh, I'm on fire. See, if you do a bad enough impersonation, they can't flag you for copyright.
Don't mess up my Bruce.
I wake up with the sheet soaking wet and everything smells, so I started to sweat. Yeah, something like that.
Night I wake up with the sheets soaking wet and the freight train running through the middle of my head only.
No, freight train was running through the middle of our campfire stories.
And helicopters.
And helicopters,
and
yeah.
airplanes and motorcycles and alright, and now when the planes go by, they're way up there.
Yeah, right?
Where you can't hear anything.
Exactly. When we were there, they were landing like behind
I
us.
mean, we were trying to do creepy stories.
Alright, do you think these are done?
Alrighty. Well,
Alright. Let me see. Oh my god. So, as you can see, it's done with everything all melted in there.
yummy.
Whoa! And banana flew off my hand.
For what it's worth, we did it.
That's looking pretty good. Cheers.
Cheers.
And
Oh.
that is very satisfying.
Yeah. I highly recommend it.
Well, we are going to pig out here. And we hope you enjoyed this episode today. Be sure to give it a like. Please subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And share it with all your friends, including this recipe.
Yeah.
So, shall we?
What?
Shall we duet? But tonight you belong.